When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode.
I mean, like right now, I know one company right now has 88 open positions in the Bay Area.
That's crazy.
So when you have 88 open positions, you're losing probably about $250,000 a day in billables.
It's a lot of cash flow you're losing. Is it because the agents are getting more demanding on what they want to make?
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is the guys that are good have jobs, right? They're good. The guys that are good 1099, like I know a lot of solid dudes that, like you, they're banking on guys like you to get them those contracts, right? But and this is one thing. If you want to get in the business, apply for every security company in your area and just say, hey, I went to an AP school. I'm looking for part-time work. You may have a full-time job, but go, hey, take whatever you can get, because it always leads to something. And it could be something where it's like robbery suppression, where a bank gets robbed, or work violence. Then they need someone in a suit and a gun to stand shift at a bank, right? To make everyone feel better. That could be one thing. Another thing too is event security. One of my buddies, who's now the 2IC, second in charge of, in my opinion, one of the best corporate EP programs in the world, I would say, for the private sector. He worked an unarmed event security job at CES and was approached by the team. And I think now it's 18 years later, he's a big dog. And he just took a 2-day job guarding a booth at CES in Vegas.
That was it.
It led to that.
Wow.
So
people are going to find you when you're working.
Or training. And
does it seem like you, a lot of these younger generation EP agents, they just want that quick hit?
Yeah, they're lazy, don't pay their dues. So a lot of stuff that I post, who follow me, I'm very active on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'll post a job with all the details and they're like, I'm interested. I have a few questions. Please reach out to me. Fuck no. Fucking read what's on there and follow the fucking directions. Like no one's coming to you. No one's coming to you for a job where guys are like, well, there's nothing in my area. And this is another thing too. I was struggling, but I was offered a position in 07, 08 to go to New York. And I was living in Vegas. I had a fucking house, car. Like it was good. Right. But I'm like, they offered me this big package, but little did I know that in New York, you get taxed like a mofo. And the cost of living so high is where they doubled my salary. But when I ended up going to New York, I was making only $1,000 more take home a month. And I was paying $2,210 a month in 2007 for a 450 square foot studio. But I was living in Trump Towers. So,
you lived in Trump Tower?
Yeah. So, so on the Riverside Drive.
Got it. Okay.
So there's Trump on 5th, and then there's 2 other towers. Actually, Sigourney Weaver was my neighbor.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I got to walk to work every day, but like after, 8 months, I'm like, dude, I'm barely surviving. Like I have enough money to pay my mortgage. Like chicken was like $8 a pound because there's a Whole Foods in the basement of the our condo, which was kind of cool. But it was just like I'm living paycheck to paycheck. But I'm glad I did it because there's one thing that they couldn't take away from me. Is one was my title, which was a corporate director or coordinator or a director's position at that young age. And 2, the knowledge that I had to learn to build a corporate security program and a secure transport program and a physical security program and run 2 buildings with staff. So was an experience? Fuck yeah. Would I ever do it again? No. But I took that chance and left technically a better life in Vegas, but the knowledge I gained, the title I gained, and then from there, when I was done, I left for a private military company or a PNC called Titan out of London, and living in New York City basically primed me for living in London because it's the same thing. It's buses, subways, all that stuff. So with that being said, I suffered for that, but then that propelled me to, the global war on terror, supporting, programs in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan. So if you see a job and like these guys are like, oh, it's only $250 a day. Fuck that. I don't work. I go, dude, this job posting was in like Puerto Rico or something. I'm like, dude, I'll go to Puerto Rico for $250 a day. I'm not doing anything.
You're thinking about networking. When you see that, you're thinking about the opportunity, who you meet, who you connect with.
Yeah.
That's how you think.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where guys.
People don't want to pay their dues.
Exactly.
They don't want to pay any dues. They just want it now.
And with that being said, there's a lot of guys that I mentored. I think with AS, I think I helped him put like 87 people or something like that over between other companies. But, guys are like, dude, I don't want to, I'm so much better than RST. I need to go EP. And I'm like, dude, be patient, man. Mm-hmm. Like you gotta put in your dues. To me, RST is harder than EP because you're in the principal's private space, right? And two, you're going to learn who's who, who's what, because a lot of the EP guys don't get associated with the rest of the family, where the RST guys see everybody. So they know who's who. So when they do transition to a driver to EP, they actually have more knowledge on
what's going on.
Yeah. So like I said, I started off with driver, then I went to RST, and I did the same thing. We all got to put in our dues and make things happen. And it's just trust the process.
Yeah. Cause the process can be long. Like my process was Beverly Hills, Summers, Royal Families, 60, 90 days straight without a day off.
Yeah.
And most agents that coming in, they couldn't even hack that. Oh, I got 2 weeks in. I need a vacation. I need some time off. No. And they want the same faces for the entire duration of the detail.
Yeah.
Most guys most agents can't even hack that.
Dude, that space program, 97 days straight work.
That's brutal.
Because I stayed because we couldn't get enough people cleared to leave me. So all the engineers rotated in and out, but I couldn't because I was compliance with ITAR. I do a lot of ITAR compliance and that, but dude, I was like, people that go on tour, it's the same way, but I'll tell you this, if I had a chance to do executive protection or celebrity protection going on tour, depending on, I would go on tour, because what you can make on tour in 90 days is what someone technically, depending on your bill rate or pay rate, is what someone make a year in corporate.
Wow. That's Elijah Shaw's world over there.
Yeah. So it's funny because I actually got to reach out to him. So we have some other clients in the interest, but yeah. Dude, touring's good because like when you're off, like this gig, I'm out. I'll go for 2 months and I'll have 2 or 3 months off. It's the same with and you could double dip in between, but
why not?
If you do one tour, you're going to have a tour manager, and that tour manager most likely will have a few other artists. So if you knock out of the park, go on a US tour, they go, hey, we have X artists doing a Latin America tour. Aaron, do you want to go? And you're just like, dude, I just finished 3 months straight. But then you think of the money and you're like, fuck it, I'll do Latin America tour. And then after the 6 months, then you go, you go, all right, I'm going to have a couple months off. They're like, oh, your artist is going on a European tour. We need you on that. So for you,
what's your recommendation for a retired cops getting in the industry? What clientele should they pursue?
Well, it's whatever in your area, man. So, if you're, if you live in DC, New York, the Bay Area, you can pretty much, as long as you, and just because you're caught, go to a school.
Go to school. Okay.
Go to a school. Understand, because if I come to you and go, oh, well, I was a cop. Hey, dude, I don't need you to do advanced. I need you to do a site survey. And they're going to go,
nice.
Well, I go, well, that's what you learn in school. An advanced is a site survey, but a site survey is not an advanced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, so if they go to school and get the foundation, and a lot of guys will go, well, I supported the Secret Service and dignitary. Yeah, you did halls and walls. You weren't doing movements. You weren't doing
pretty much.
You were doing walking formations. So it's just like invest a little money, get past your ego, and go to school. But if you have an HR 218, depending on the state, you can pretty much have your pick. Because one, you have street smarts, you retired, you probably have common sense, you knew how to do report writing. There's a whole thing about being a retired law enforcement that has so many benefits of transitioning into the EP. But what they just got to know is, how do I fucking function in a corporate environment? How do I adjust to that environment? And how do I know to lose the whole cop vibe, blend in, and just do my job? Like, that's a big thing. That's it's that understanding that transitional space. And guys from the military have to do the same thing. Guys get out of the military, just like, hey, dude, relax. A lot of
and in your experience of overseeing all these training programs like Various Solutions, what industry struggles the most with adapting in the EP industry? Which one would you say had the hardest time making the switch?
Dude, everybody. Because think about this. The client that we work for, there's a few other. When I went there, it was a whole beta world, right? And as protectors, we're A-types.
Alpha males.
Yeah.
Alpha males, alpha females.
But we can't be that when we're operating in these environments. We have to operate on their level. Like, I was in a client brief, and we were talking about emergency response, and I was just like, well, they need a CTV course, and we can use some of the drugs of abuse. And one of the person like, whoa, what is CQB? And I go, close quarter battles. And they're like, that is way too aggressive language. So I changed it to, as you see in the post, structural clearing. They don't even they don't like to hear active shooter. So I changed it to active threat, because it may not be a shooter. It may be edge weapon, chemical, vehicular.
So wait a minute. Let's slow down here. You just said something that was huge. The corporate world doesn't want to hear the word terminology. What again?
Active shooter.
That's a bad word.
So it's a grit. So you understand.
Too aggressive.
When you have, and I'll have to say it, like liberal CEOs and owners, and they're conforming to everyone's feelings, and which I get, that's the new employee base.
Right. Okay. Sure.
They, even in the security department, that culture has to come down, meaning that you can't use aggressive terminology.
Got it.
So dude, I'm 250 pounds, 5'10". I got tree trunk legs, and I had to go buy security or skinny jeans, in clothes every time I go to the campus, so I can blend in. I've always been a Chuck Taylor guy, that.
A Chucky.
But even with that said, all the residential and EP guys, they're blending in. So for me, as a gear manufacturer, I'm like, Aaron, man, I can't be carrying your EP bag. I need something more discreet. So I'll be releasing this, but I've made an ankle trauma kit.
Oh, nice.
Will work with skinny jeans.
Oh, perfect.
So you don't have this big bulge on your leg, or for covert protection or EP teams, it'll fit the new Motorola's on the inside of the ankle. Then you can run a Bluetooth and then wear a t-shirt and jeans, and you're not
blending in.
Yeah. So you're not having to put the radio in your front pocket, putting it in, a separate bag, etc. So, so that's pretty much it. Is, some more conservative corporations are probably on the East Coast, banking firms.
They're okay with that terminology.
Yeah, and it's fine. But when you start going into the tech and a lot of that stuff, you got to be more self-aware, because
You have to be aware of their culture, like you said, the corporate culture. Like I know a lot of corporate cultures in the West Coast, they're not gun friendly. And I've heard my buddy Zach over there at Pelican Hill told me that he knew of some corporations that if they see you having guns or videos of guns on your social media, they won't hire you.
So, dude, you hit the nail on the head. So in my seminar, I'm teaching professional social media. Like I'm the norm because
you're the norm.
Yeah, well, I'm not the norm. Like I'm an exception to the rule, but
exactly.
But there's, I'm teaching guys like, hey, like set your Instagrams to private, set your Facebooks to private. I have a buddy. He's actually the one that taught me stadium advances for the NFL, and he transitioned, and I was getting him on, and he had they'll do the protective intelligence, the GSOCs, when they do a background check, they'll do a full social media scrub, and they found a post that he made like over a year ago that was against, he's very religious, so he's like, dude, like I don't believe in abortions, and he made one post about that over a year ago. The protective intelligence and recruiting team found that, and that post went against the beliefs of the principal. So that flagged him. I'm like, why is he getting held up? And HR is like this. I'm like, well, can he delete it? Or then can you talk to him? Like, they're like, well, he doesn't see eye to eye. And I'm like, well, he meets the skill set. He has everything we need to do it. Talk to him about it. But his religious belief is his religious belief. So that hemmed him up, and then, so just think about that, where if you have some stupid shit on your Facebook or your Instagram, put that shit to private when you're applying for a job. So when they do that internet scrub and sweep, they don't find it, that's including, they can always see your profile picture and your banner picture. But that's something to be considerate, because this is the thing. Who you are, what you do, what you believe, and how you act. Is a Fortune 100 CEO want to be associated with you, or proud to have you as an employee with such a high regarded position? So
because you're an agent representing their brand, period. Yep. You're hired help. And then they scrub your social media and they go, oh, we're an anti-gun culture at this corporation. And they got, they're on the range and they got all kinds of weapons. We can't hire them because that's against our brand reputation. Yeah, that's where it's going.
The funny thing is that back in 2014, with all the tech, people were trying to get away from guns. They didn't want agents to carry them. Which for California, it's a fucking nightmare with CCWs, all that stuff. They were trying to get away, but after the YouTube shooting and all these active shooters scenarios happening, now they're fighting to find ways to have an armed response.
So switching, and shifting again.
Yeah, and there's people that will teach, like there's two components to active shooter. There's educational standpoint of being the employee, and then for me with Catalyst, the two programs I'm developing, which is structural clearing and active shooter response, is the response to that, not the proactive. Like, hey, there's a gunman, he's doing damage. How do we come together? How do we get in, eliminate the threat, and properly be identified and not get shot by law enforcement? That just happened not too long ago. An off-duty cop was in a gunfight and he did it here, and his own department shot him.
Crap! Holy shit! Dang, that's not good. So, folks, if you're tuning in, this is Aaron Mauldin, a good friend of mine, fellow Devil Dog, Marine Corps vet, and former one of the top leaders with AS Solutions with Christian West. Now, running his own organization, and he's got a social media. He's on Instagram, Facebook.
Connect with me on LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn, LinkedIn.
No TikTok. No TikTok. No TikTok there. And this is Mark Ledlow, obviously the host. And you can find me on YouTube. And this will be on YouTube as well. So please subscribe, love us or hate us. We'd love to see your comments, because I'm sure Aaron will get a hold of it and he'll blast it, because he likes to do that type of thing. We're just playing. We're having a good time. But please follow me on YouTube. My team didn't put us on TikTok. The algorithms, I guess, are friendlier than Instagram, Facebook. You just do more reach with it. TikTok. I'm not
I don't know. I don't know what to think. It's SEO stuff.
But hey, TikTok, I'll tell you this, that is the new age of practitioners coming up. So that is a viable platform that I should probably look into when wanting to start recruiting and educating people about the protection industry, because that's the new platform, right?
It is. I had a meeting with Chris Decker, is my producer of my podcast, Salescast, and that team over there. They're going to be ramping up my entire platform first of the year. You're going to see more content pushed. We're going to probably recycle Aaron and I's podcast at 25, 35 different times at different clips. And this is going to be a lot of content. And then, of course, you see the sign with me and Frank Meter right there. We're actually co-partners in the EP Academy that we're launching first of the year. Of course, you got Ludlow over here. And that's me. Been in business for a year, but I've been in the industry 15 years. I think Aaron's been in business longer than I have. And seen a lot of stuff. And our goal is just to edify, inspire, give hope to the new practitioners coming in the industry, because it is changing. We need some good, solid agents. You know, I don't want to do 12-hour days, staying holes in walls anymore. I have no desire to do it. I've done it. I've spent many Christmases, Thanksgiving, and New Year's working in different cities and states. Go ahead. You got a point?
No, that's a big one. Is just, holidays, because, security never sleeps, and it
doesn't
24 hours. But with the new guys, I'll be running seminars and training down at Oceanside. So I'm going to start hitting Camp Pendleton, getting the word out to all those young, motivated, hard chargers with strong hairlines and that are fit, and getting them through the BSIS process.
That are
fit. I know. I'm fat and happy. I've had a prime rib and a turkey leg all week.
Good gobble.
Yes.
And the summing up. Go ahead.
Just
in Oceanside.
Yeah. So, I had one team that I built in the Bay Area. I call them the Marine Corps Mafia, and
nice.
They were all Marines, a lot of O3s, and they were open-minded. They got it. And a lot of them right now are still on the details. Some of them transitioned as full-time employees with the principal in the family office. So I'm super proud about that. And, every time Marines get together, we all jive. I'm sure it's the same with the Navy and the Army. But one thing about Marines is, if we say, hey, man, you got to stand your post for fucking 12 hours, they'll do it because they're used to it. They're not going to bitch and complain because they're retired this, retired that, or, they've never experienced that. But I think there's the discipline and the understanding and the ability to take orders, how they're done is one thing that the Marine Corps taught me. And I still, thank God, I still see it in these young Marines, coming out. Because if, there was always a joke that my buddy said, is like, hey man, if we had a Connex box that we need to guard out in the middle of Afghanistan, you put a Marine there, you come back 2 weeks later, there's going to be landmines, concertina wire, machine gun nests, range cards, intersecting fields of fire. He's like, you put a special forces dude, you come back, he's going to be at the strip club and have a group of third country nationalists guarding the box. So there's two concepts of thinking, right?
Yeah. Right.
And there's delegation and there's dedication with both. But, sometimes we get stuck on shift and, hey, dude, you gotta do fucking halls and walls, and I'll do everything I can to relieve you for troop welfare, but they'll never complain because they're used to manning posts, right? General orders.
Yep. Yeah. Any parting words? I know we gone almost 2 hours on this thing.
I know. So sorry that I keep running that on, but
it's all good.
But this is like our fucking conversations on the phone. Like
it is. We go forever and ever.
Yeah. But hey, I want to thank you for having me on the podcast. For any of those that are watching this that are new to the industry or in the industry, best way to reach out to me, via LinkedIn, send me a connect. I post a ton of jobs, a lot of information out there. And like I said, it's not about me. It's about bettering the industry. I have a good working relationship with 4 of the biggest EP security firms. I'm supporting them on recruiting on a few of them. So it's a win-win for everyone. So I appreciate you having me on, Mark.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Way overdue. And sorry if I got on rambling rants, but that's where the passion comes in about the industry.
Yeah, Aaron's probably the most passionate guy, as we all know, in the thought leaders in the security industry. We all know Aaron's passionate about what he does. And, you just add a little flavor, like your barbecue and your steaks they have on Instagram that we see often when you're barbecuing. And I have to, say a shout out to you, because if it wasn't for you and Christian with AS Solutions back in the day, these EP agents would be making $250,000 with stock options and all that stuff. They wouldn't be making that kind of money. And I think you and Christian really drove that program home to a lot of these directors of security in these different Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be getting paid as well as we are.
Yeah. And I think one thing where I think Christian's very humble, and for who he is, I have mad respect, because when I gave him that position, he just said, he took the leash off and said, do what you need to do. If you run into issues, I'll back you. And he still backed me. I made mistakes.
Sure.
I made quite a few mistakes, but he always stood by me. And I think people really don't understand the grasp of what he's done for the EP industry over the last decade. Like, he made it cool.
He made it cool and acceptable.
Yeah, because everyone else was so stuffy. We don't talk about this stuff, and we had a post. I think it's all taken down now, but about, let's have a conversation about EP. Let's talk about it, because no one does, because everyone was so siloed off. No one shared information. And the great thing about Christian is, when I got there, I had all this access. So big shout out to him. Mm-hmm. He's a benchmark. I think he, honestly should have a nominee or a lifetime achievement award for what he's done, regardless of what's going on in some of the stuff in the Bay Area. But so he helped catapult me to a whole nother level and gave me another understanding, because dealing with all these companies, it gives you an insight of what clients, corporations, and family offices are thinking and how they want to do things, so.
And he has a different type of mindset. I mean, Christian, with all due respect, the guy was never military, never law enforcement, came over from Sweden, I think.
No, Denmark.
Denmark. And then started in Bellevue, Washington, Microsoft. Got in with Chuck, and then just kind of blew up over there. And there you go. It's about relationship. People trust you. Show what you can do.
And when you got that one client, that first client, focus on them, double, triple down. And as that post that I put, it's like risk management. Yeah. It's operations.
Yep.
It's logistics, service support. Then it's fucking customer service. And that's one thing that I respect about C-Dub is, when something needed to get done, he's like, get it fucking done. I don't care what it costs. Make them happy. Let's roll with it. So that's one thing that I think we talk about, self-awareness, but customer service is a huge component of being a security company, supporting a family office or a corporation, and servicing your people, truth welfare. Because if you're working your guys' dicks in the dirt, they're not going to have operational readiness. They're not going to be happy. So that was just one thing. It's just like, hey, dude, what do you need from me? How can I help you? And so the guys didn't want more money. They were just like, dude, my op tempo is so high, I need fucking time off. So then how do we solve that problem? How do we, because we're short, get someone in there that can merge with the client. Now the client, oh, great, we had another new body in here. Because that's one thing, not to ramble on, I know we're closing out, but you have so much face time with the same people, it's detrimental. So
it is detrimental.
A learning lesson that I learned from AS is there's what's called a terminal position. And it's twofold. You can be terminal. One, you could be so good at your job that it would be detrimental for you to leave the program, because the client and the principal would be upset because you built and established a work ethic, load, face time with the client. Then two is what we find a lot in residential and universal security is you're a terminal employee because you just don't get it. Right? There's guys like, I don't know why I can't go eat, why I can't go EP. Well, stop wearing a haircut that looks like a fucking Viking, or, change the way you look. You look like a cholo and you're working in the Bay Area and you're not blending in with your environment. But sometimes when I've had to have the hard talk with people, they're looking at me like I just kicked their fucking puppy across the street because I'm trying to give them valuable advice, but they shut me. And HR can't say that.
HR can't say that because they don't want to get sued.
Yeah. And
discrimination.
And we could talk about PT tests later. That's a whole.
Oh, yeah. That's another subject. Keeping your height and weight in check.
Yeah. So that's
body mass check.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, guys, connect with me on LinkedIn. Mark, I really appreciate you having on. Like I said, having me on, this was way overdue. I don't know when this is going to post, but I hope everyone has a happy new year. And here's to 2023, because with a lot of corporate takeovers and transitions and contracts, RFPs coming in, because that 2-year contract period came up for the Bears. So there's a lot of shift, a lot of change. It's going to be interesting on what's going to come of 2023.
And if you're a small boutique company like me, I'm a small guy, I often compare myself a little canoe in the pond, paddling away, trying to get a little wind.
But being a boutique company, when they call, you pick up the phone. That's the difference of these bigger companies. If they don't have a program manager or project manager dedicated, they're going to go through loops. And there's a process of spending and funding allocation where you're like, hey, I can bill you out for this. I can get this done now. Let's rock and roll, versus going through a 5-step hierarchy and attorneys and, re-changing service agreements. And
we can give an answer within one same day with the proposal, more than likely.
Yeah.
And I have an in-house general counsel, and we have people across the country. We now have resources in Africa, Canada, in Mexico, with like Aaron does, and we have an international reach. But it's just you don't want to bite on more than you can chew.
Exactly, and that's a big thing with EBITDA. So I'm my finance book.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So that was one thing, because I was spending so much money back in the day. Finance was just like, dude, what are you doing? But I started learning, budgeting, submitting projected budgets. But when a corporation buys another company, they have an EBITDA. So it's the earnings after tax and all that stuff. But usually what happens is that they have to force to continue growth, right? Which crushes a lot of companies because they start doing business that they're normally not used to, right?
Yes.
So they're going after contracts. So that being said, get 1 or 2 clients, double, triple down on the customer service, focus on them, help them grow their programs. And from a couple of my buddies that, were multi-millionaires, they said, Aaron, I would actually personally be making more money with a business that does under $5 million a year with X amount of employees than I am now doing $85 million a year with 1,200 employees.
Wow. The burn rate's so high.
Yeah. And, it just, the money truth, everyone's getting paid for something. So it's something to think about. And for boutique, that's with me with Catalyst. I have 2 clients. I'm pulling on a 3rd. I maybe take a 4th, and I'm going to lock it in,
right?
100% on them, and then get training. So in Mexico City is going to be one of my
be huge for you.
Yeah, in Cabo and Cancun, that's going to be rough.
I'll be coming down buying resort property with a Mexican national.
Dude,
here's the money. Buy a resort.
Yeah, I got a buddy that lives down there that I use all the time. So he's going to be my he's a former State Department guy. He's going to be my U.S. asset on the ground. So next time you see me, hopefully I'll have a nice tan. And
there you go. So you guys tuning in. This is Aaron Mauldin, the one and only, giving us some time of his time and just sharing some knowledge with all you young agents and all you experienced agents on the business side of EP. And this is definitely the EP podcast, a deep dive in the EP industry. And please follow Aaron on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm Twitter. I'm TikTok. I'm everywhere. And we thank you for the support this year. We've had some amazing guests. Dean Stout was just in my studio in Irvine.
Oh, nice.
And there's a copy of his book. And he is actually Prince Harry's advisor. There's right there, picture with him and Prince Harry hanging out. They work on some philanthropy projects together. A great guy, Special Forces guy. And shout out to him for coming on the show. And shout out to Aaron for what he's done and just giving us his time. I know everybody on this podcast this is probably the most downloaded podcast yet for the first of the year. And we'll be launching this first of the year. And happy New Year's Eve to everybody listening. And just be careful if you're drinking and driving out there. I know people want to blow off some steam. Be safe. Get an Uber. Use a taxi. It's not worth your life.
I shacked up, man. I went to the grocery store today and
he's ahead of it. He's ahead of it.
Yeah, just
making lobster here in the house.
Yeah, so
making lobster and shrimp.
Yeah, actually, I got some Wagyu beef.
Wagyu. He's a chef. Culinary chef. Well, thanks, folks, for tuning in. Go ahead, Aaron. What was that?
No, just thanks again, Mark. I know you probably have to break this up in a few things, but I appreciate it. It's a long one.
It's a very long one. I think this is the record for anything I've done in podcast world. So thanks for tuning in, folks. And again, please subscribe and download this on comment on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Instagram will be there, and Facebook and all the other LinkedIn stuff. So we'll see you soon on the next podcast drop. Happy New Year.